mistakes, and it also has a good amount of information that's correct. Listen, my children, and you shall hear of the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day or year. He said to his friend of the British March, by land or sea to the town tonight, hanging a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the old Lord Church as a signal light. One if by land, two if by sea, and I on opposite shore will be, ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm, for the country folk to be up and to arm. He said good night, and with muffled oar, silently rode to the Charleston shore. Just as the moon came over the bay, swinging wide at her moorings lay the Somerset, a British man of war. A phantom ship with each mast and spar across the moon like a prison bar, a huge black hulk that was magnified by its own reflection in the tide. Meanwhile, his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till in the sound surrounding he hears the muster of men at the barrack door, the sound of arms, the tramp of feet, and the measured tread of the grenadiers marching down to their boats on the shore. He climbed the tower of the old North Church by the wooden stairs with stealthy tread to the belfry chamber overhead and startled the pigeons from their perch. Sombre rafters round him made masses of moving shapes of shade, the trembling ladder steep and tall, to the highest window in the wall, where he paused to look down a moment on the roofs of town, with the moonlight flooding over all. Beneath in the church lay the dead in their night encampment on the hill, wrapped in silence so deep and still that he could hear like a sentinel's tread the watchful night wind as it went, creeping along from tent to tent and seeming to whisper, all is well. A moment only he feels the spell of the place and the hour and the secret dread of the lonely belfry and the dead. For suddenly all his thoughts are bent on a shadowy something far away, where the river widens to meet the bay, a line of black that bends and floats on a rising tide like a bridge of boats. Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with heavy stride, on opposite shore walked Paul Revere. Now he patted his horse's side, now gazed at the landscape far and near, and impetuous stamped the earth, turned and tightened his saddle girth. But mostly he watched with eager search the belfry tower of the old North Church, as it rose above the graves on the hill, lonely and spectral and sombre and still. And lo, as he looks on the belfry's height, a glimmer, and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes still full on his sight. A second lantern in the belfry burns. A hurry of hoofbeats in the village street, a shape in the moonlight, a bulk in the dark, and beneath from the pebbles in passing a spark, struck out by a steed flying fearless and fleet. That was all, and yet to the gloom and the light, the fate of a nation was riding that night. The spark struck out by a steed in his flight, kindled the land into flame with its heat. He left the village and mounted the steep, and beneath him, tranquil, broad and deep, was the mystic meeting the ocean tides, and under the alders that skirt its edge, now soft on the sand, now loud on the ledge, is heard the tramp of the steed as he rides. It was 12 by the village clock when he crossed the bridge into Medford town. He heard the crowing of the cock and and the barking of the farmer's dog, and felt the damp of the river fog that rises after the sun goes down. It was 1 by the village clock when he galloped into Lexington. He saw the gilded weathercock swim in the moonlight as he passed. The meeting-house windows, blank and bare, gazed at him with a spectral glare, as if they already stood aghast at the bloody work they would soon look upon. One was safe asleep in it. It was 2 by the village clock when he galloped across the bridge into Concord town. He heard the bleating of the flock and the twitter of birds among the trees, and felt the breath of the morning breeze that blows over the meadows brown. One was safe asleep in his bed, who at the bridge we first to fall, who that day would be lying dead, pierced by a British musket ball. You know the rest from the books you have read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball from behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane and crossing the fields to emerge again, under the trees at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fire and load. So through the night rode Paul Revere, and so through the night went the cry of his alarm to every Middlesex village and farm. A cry of defiance and not of fear, a voice in the dark, a knock on the door, and a word that shall echo forevermore. For born on that night went of the past, through all of history to the last, that hour of darkness, peril, and need, the people will waken to listen to hear the hurried hoofbeats of that steed and the midnight message of Paul Revere.